Hello, it's that time again. It's the Cookery with Lockdown session with myself, Robin. Today I've had a request from one of the viewers. National Cupcake Day is coming up, so it's to do with Alzheimer's and dementia. So it's a Alzheimer's and Dementia Day. So today we're going to do some cupcakes. Our recipe is going to be a chocolate cola cupcake. So we're going to use some Coca-Cola in it, so a little bit different. I can assure you that it's a really nice cake, nice and moist, very chocolatey. We're going to pop like a nice cola chocolate icing on top, and I'm just going to decorate it simple with like slices of Mars bar. So obviously you can design and create your own type of cupcakes, but I'm going to give you this recipe. So as usual, we're going to go through the equipment needed, the ingredients, and then I'll go through the tutorial and show you how to make it and give you like some little tips on and show you how to decorate it. Hope you enjoy the video and look forward to seeing some of your cupcakes. So we're going to run through the ingredients for the chocolate cola cake. Okay, so we are going to need 250 grams of butter. We're going to need 250 grams of self-raising flour, 300 grams of golden caster sugar, and if you can't get golden caster sugar, you can use normal caster sugar. I've got some light muscovado sugar as well, so I'm going to use that instead. So I've got 300 grams of that. So just use whatever sugar up you've got in the. Try not to use the granulated sugar though, because it's a bit coarse and it gets a bit grainy. So use the caster sugar if anything. But muscovado, light brown sugar, light muscovado, or your golden caster sugar. 2 eggs, and we're going to beat those up. 3 heaped tablespoons of cocoa powder. We've got 200 milliliters of Coca-Cola. Any Coca-Cola is fine. It could be diet, full fat, doesn't matter. The cheaper brands probably better for this cake because you're not paying as much for the bottle, and it gives it the same effect anyway. A bit of sweetness. And then we've got 75 milliliters of milk, and we're just going to put a good pinch of bicarbonate of soda in and some vanilla essence. We're going to use a teaspoon of vanilla essence. So that's your ingredients. Again, if you're a vegan, you could replace the milk with soya milk, and the eggs, a good substitute for the eggs would be applesauce. So the jar of applesauce that you can get from the supermarket, and you probably want to go for about 50 grams of the applesauce if you're vegan, and it should come out just very much similar. Okay. If you're gluten-free, rather than using the plain flour, you can use the gluten-free flour. You may need to add a little bit more flour to the mix though, because it doesn't hold as well as normal flour, so you generally need to add a little bit more. So you probably need to add an extra 100 grams, 75 grams to 100 grams of the gluten-free flour. Okay, that's the ingredients, and now we are going to the equipment. Okay, so the equipment that we're going to need, obviously we're going to need some scales, so obviously to weigh our ingredients. So we've got some scales. We'll need a jug of some sort to measure our milk and coke, a bowl to mix in, so a reasonably good sized bowl, a sieve to sieve our flour and our dry ingredients. We're going to need a muffin tray, so ideally this will probably make about 12 muffins. I've got quite a deep muffin tray here, so I'm going to make some bigger ones. You're going to need some cupcake muffin papers to put into your muffin tray, a saucepan and a spoon to melt your butter, and we're also going to need a teaspoon to measure. So these are the pieces of equipment, and then we're going to need our oven as well. So this is the equipment that we're going to use. Again, not too much. Hopefully you just have it in your kitchen. If you don't have any muffin trays, you can make it into a big cake if you liked, or again, if you've looked on previous videos, I use little condensed milk tins and I grease them and flour them, so you could make some smaller cakes using those. So improvise if you haven't got any muffin trays. Okay, so equipment there, and now we'll go on to the tutorial. So as we discussed, it's a really good family little recipe. Get your children involved, easy to make. My son Harry's going to help me again today. He's helped me on a few videos. Saying hello?
Hi.
No. So he's going to help me, and he's going to show you how easy it is to make.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously before we start, we make sure we wash our hands. Everything's nice and clean. The area is nice and clean and tidy. So we're not going to get any food poisoning, tummy bugs, that sort of thing. So we want to prevent that and make sure it's nice and clean and tidy. So our first job is to line our muffin trays, our cupcake trays. So we're going to take our papers and just pop them in ready. Okay, so Harry, if you'd like to do that.
Yes.
So just one in each is fine.
Yeah. One.
Push them down to the bottom.
Yeah. Put them in, and then push the middle to check if there's any more space left under it. Two more.
Okay. So that's our muffin tray ready. So we're just going to put that to one side. We're going to make sure our oven is being preheated as well. What temperature do we need to preheat our oven to, Harry?
180 degrees Celsius.
So 180 degrees, yeah, or gas mark 4. Okay, so make sure that the oven's preheated. Obviously, once we get the cakes ready, we want them to be able to go in the oven straight away. So the oven needs to be preheated to 180 degrees C. Okay, so the next job we're going to do, we're going to melt our butter and our Coke. So we need to put our butter and our Coke into a small pan.
Yeah. Oh.
So just pour your Coke in. I'll take that for you. And then the butter. Yeah, so 250 grams of butter and 200 millilitres of your cola drink.
This one is 250.
That's 250 grams exactly. So most packets of butter are 250 grams. So these are this recipe is ideal for that.
If it's not 250 grams and maybe a bit more, you can just use a knife to cut it.
You can do, yeah. But what you have to be careful with when you use a knife.
Cut in yourself.
Okay, so just gently put that in there, Harry, so it doesn't splash. So use your fingers so it doesn't splash.
Open it up properly.
That's it.
Splashes might go fizz.
Okay. So all we'll do with this now is pop it on the stove.
Yeah.
And we're going to melt it, so the butter's melted into the Coke. Now, if you wanted to, you could do it in the microwave, but just be careful because obviously sometimes it does spit and it could rise above the pot you put it into. So I just put it on a gentle heat on the stove to melt. So next, we're going to add our flour into our sieve.
Oh. I might have done that a bit wrong.
Okay. The cocoa powder.
Cocoa powder, which is this.
And we want a pinch of the bicarbonate of soda.
Which one's that? That one? No, this
So
one.
just a pinch, good pinch.
Just about that much.
Yeah, put it in there. see. I'll give you another pinch, Harry, because your fingers are smaller than mine.
Yes.
Okay. Bit more, tiny bit more. So a good pinch, adult pinch. That's it. Okay, and then we're going to sieve that into our bowl. Okay, so remember how to sieve. Just gently tap. That's it. So just gently tap the side of the sieve. And the reason we're sieving it, just makes the flour a little bit lighter, and it gets out if there's any lumps in there as well.
Now mix it.
Okay, so before we mix it, we're going to add our sugar to this now. So our sugar is being added to the flour.
Sugar. Oh.
So just pour your sugar in.
Oh.
Okay, and then
Brown
once that's
sugar.
all, that's brown, golden sugar. Okay, so once that's in, we can give that a bit of a stir, mix it together.
It's nice. And when it's finished, it should smell nice.
To give it a good stir so it's all mixed together.
Yeah. Oh,
Be gentle. It's okay.
I'm trying to.
You can clean the mess up afterwards.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
So just give it a good mix,
And then just give it.
and then we're ready for the next stage.
And then just do this.
So
Need
the
a teaspoon of vinegar.
butter and the Coke is now melted. Okay, so we just need to put it on the stove, just gently heat it, just so the butter melts. You don't want to heat it up too hot, because when you add it into the mixture and you add your egg, you'll cook your egg and you scramble the egg. So just gently heat it, just so the butter's melting. So we're going to add this into our flour mix now, and we're going to add that, pour that in. Again, if you've got the children doing this, maybe it's best if you handle the pan, because the pan will still be warm and quite hot for children, so just be careful with that. Okay, so we're going to need a teaspoon of vanilla essence. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to need our 75 millilitres of milk. We're just going to give that a little bit of a mix, gently and slowly.
Yeah. What about the egg?
We're going to put the egg in a moment. We're just going to mix that in a little bit.
Oh yeah, you mix it a bit like this.
Okay, just gently, remember, not too fast, otherwise it'll spill everywhere. And remember that butter and Coke will still be a little bit warm, so we don't want to splash ourselves with it.
Yep. You don't want to splash yourself with it. It's going to be hot.
Okay, so that's it. Just gently mix it in. Make sure we get all the mixture from the sides, at the bottom and the corner of the bowl. And just give it a real gentle stir. Okay, so once we've got that mixed together, we can add the egg. You keep stirring, Harry. That's it. And then just stir that now until all the mixture is together. Remember, not too fast.
Thanks.
I'll finish that off for you, just give you a bit of a help. There you go. So that's it, just scrape down.
What's that?
Just make sure any lumps, if there are any in there, are just mixed in. So now we've got a nice cake batter. Okay, so this is ready to go into our cupcake papers.
Yes.
Now you need to do this quite quickly, because the baking agent in the raisin agent in the flour will start to react with the liquid, start to give off carbon dioxide gas, which helps the cake rise. So you need to get this done quite quickly so we don't lose the rise in the cake. So
Jinx.
now we're going to get our cupcake muffin tray lined there as well, and just like I mentioned earlier, just some tins. I've done some as well, and I've lined them, greased them with a bit of butter or marge, and I've just dusted them slightly with cocoa powder as well. Because it's a chocolate cake, you dust them with cocoa powder, it keeps the brown chocolate colour. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing some of these as well. Okay, so we're gonna pour our mixture into our cupcake paper. So it's about 2/3 of the way up. That's enough.
Oh, that's good.
Try and get them in the paper, not down the sides, because otherwise they stick. So about 2/3 of the way up.
Put a bit in that one. That one. Yeah. A bit here.
So just take your time, do it slowly.
Is that slow enough?
That's enough, yeah. Tiny bit more maybe. That's it. That's enough. Okay, don't worry too much. Okay, and then the last one. So we're going to do that, and then if I'm doing it in these tins, I'd probably do it about 1/3 of the way up the tin, because remember the cakes are going to rise.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't want to put too much in each paper or tin, because they will rise and otherwise they will go over the edge. So you need to be careful.
Yes.
Once they're filled, we're going to pop them in our oven that's been preheated, remember 180 degrees C or gas mark 4, and we're going to bake them for about 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, so they'll still be quite soft, and they have a bit of a chocolate fudge cake consistency, so a little bit soft and a bit of a gooey, maybe soft gooiness in the middle still. Okay, so they're ready to go in the oven, and they're going to go in for 15 minutes, 180 degrees C or gas mark 4. Okay, so while the cakes are baking, we are going to make our buttercream toppings on top. So for this, we're going to need some icing sugar, some cocoa powder, and some butter. Okay, so this make our icing to go on top. Okay, so all for this one, just going to need a bowl, a sieve, and a spoon to beat it all together. So we're going to sieve our icing sugar and our cocoa powder into the bowl.
I'll put the
Cocoa powder in first.
Hold on.
Okay, and then just gently, you can do the sieving, Harry.
Thanks.
So remember, gently tap the side of the sieve, and we're just going to make sure there's no lumps in there again.
That's heavy. No, okay. Why not the other hand?
Finish it with one.
It's gone everywhere.
Okay, so that's in the bowl, and then we're going to get our softened butter, and we'll just cut it up into smaller pieces.
Yes.
Just makes it easier to mix in as well. So just using a knife, just chop it into smaller pieces. Okay, I'll do this one for you. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay, so obviously it just makes it easier to mix in. Now, if you've got a food mixer, you could use a whisk or a beater to mix this in. But if you haven't, just a bowl and a wooden spoon. It does take a little bit of effort. So then we're just going to gently mix that in. So just until it forms a paste. Okay, so just gently, really gently, nice and gently work the butter in. Just squash it down. Now, the softer the butter, the easier it will be to mix in. But you don't want to get too hard with it, because if you start mixing it too hard, the icing sugar and the cocoa powder will go absolutely everywhere, and it'll be like a dust cloud. Okay, so once we start getting this, you can see it's starting to come together now. Now, it's probably better if an adult does this, because it can be quite hard. All we're going to do is give it a really good mix. And you can get a bit more aggressive with it now, because the flour's not the icing sugar and the cocoa powder is not going to dust everywhere. So I've been doing this probably for about 5 or 6 minutes, really giving it a good beat, making sure it's all mixed in until it becomes a nice chocolatey icing paste. It's quite firm, so this is going to be your topping for the cupcakes. So my cupcakes are now ready, they've been baked in the oven. Get a cooling rack ready. And they should be quite firm to touch, so a bit quite springy, and they should bounce back up if you touch them. You can stick a skewer in as well, and if it comes out clean, they will be ready. But they will be quite soft. They're naturally quite soft, like a fudge cake anyway. So we're going to just gently turn these out. If you've got a silicone mould, it's a little bit easier. So just gently turn them out. Just be careful because it is quite hot. And we're just going to allow them to cool down. Okay, and then once they're cool, we can put the icing on top. So our cupcakes now cooled down. Are they, Harry?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, so we just need now to put the topping on. So if you can buy the disposable piping bags from the supermarkets, and they come with nozzles. I've got my own style nozzle, but they do come with nozzles, so it's not too bad. So just to make it a little bit easier to put the mixture in, make sure you fold the top over, so it should, and then when you can pop it into a glass or a plastic container, and it's easier to put the mixture in. So we'll just pop that there, and then all we're going to do is get our buttercream that we made up earlier.
Oh, looks nice, doesn't it?
Which I've had to keep away from Harry because he just wants to eat it.
Yes.
And we're going to pop it into our piping bag.
It's not my fault, it's just too delicious.
And then you can use the edge of the glass to scrape the mixture.
Yes.
Now don't overfill your piping bag,
Oh,
because otherwise it comes out the top
yes.
and it gets mucky.
Yes. It'll just get me.
Okay, so and then you can lift it up, and you can see you can unfold the top, and you've got a nice clean top to help squeeze down. So just squeeze your mixture down.
Oh, and then you twirl it.
And then just give it a little bit of a twist at the top, again to stop it from coming out.
Top.
And then just between your thumb and your finger, there, keep the top twisted and closed, and then you can use your hand to squeeze. Now it might be quite difficult for the children, but Harry's going to help me.
Yeah, because I'm quite good at twirling, I guess.
Okay, and then we're just going to gently squeeze onto our muffin. Oops. And then give it a twirl, that's it. Okay. Alright. And then just do it like that. So you've got a little bit of a topping. And I'm just going to repeat that for the rest of the things. So I'll just do this one for you, Harry. So just squeeze and then give it a little bit of a twirl. So we're just going to decorate these with a Mars bar. So we've got our chocolate topping, and then we're just going to use a Mars bar. Get yourself a board and a knife, and then just a nice couple of slices. Now it's good if you put this in the fridge first, because it helps it go a little bit harder. So when you cut them, you get the nice layers. And we're just going to pop them on top of our buttercream. And then that is the cupcakes decorated and complete. So nice and simple chocolate cola cakes,
Nice and
chocolate
simple.
Mars bar.
Yes.
Now I hope you enjoyed the video on making the cupcakes, and really looking forward to seeing some of yours that you created. If you could send some pictures in, that would be great. If you give us some feedback on how you thought the cupcakes went, they tasted, how they looked, did you have any problems, just give us a little bit of feedback. If you need any help, leave a comment on the video and we can try and advise you and help you out as much as you can. So obviously if you've got another cupcake recipe, feel free to use one, but I think you should try this one, the chocolate cola one. I think it might surprise you. I think a lot of people think putting cola in cake, but I think these ones are really, really nice. So please do have a try of this recipe. Send us some pictures of your finished cupcake. Be creative. Do whatever you want. I mean, you don't have to follow my decoration. You can be creative and try and do your own. But please do send some pictures in. Obviously, like and share our video with your friends. And if you have any suggestions for future cookery sessions that you want me to try something, please do. We've had a few suggestions coming in, so keep them coming in and I'll try and squeeze them in. But ultimately, I hope you enjoy this and I hope you enjoy the cupcakes. Okay, take care and see you again soon.